I don't know if I've met some of you, emailed some of you, but welcome and thanks for coming out to hear what they've done so far. I do have to say that if you paid for piano lessons and thought for them to practice piano and thought, why am I doing this? Now you'll hear that all those piano lessons and all that arguing you did when they were little and they didn't want to practice is paying off. Because I have never been where I'm at with a group of kids ever before. We are so far ahead of, you talk to any other grade 7s in the city and they're not even close to where we are. So they're an amazing group. Most of them are practicing. If you haven't seen practice reports, they took them a long time. See that folder on the wall? It says practice reports? That's where they get them from. And they're due at the end of every month. And they should be doing I'm asking for about an hour a week. Now, if they, one week they have a bad week and they're sick and they don't get an hour in, that's fine. But even though we're doing really well, we still need to keep practicing. Because one of the things they're discovering is the pieces are getting longer. And they're dying by the third line. Their faces are like, they're sitting there, I can't play anymore. So they still have to keep practicing so that they can get the muscles built up to the point that we can get through an entire piece without half the group having their faces turning blue and falling off. So they need to keep practicing. Okay, clarinets are going to learn some high notes today that they're going to show you. It's just like anything else. The more you do it, the better you're going to get it. Now, it's fairly obvious that they're practicing because this stuff is we're just going right through it. And I'm not leaving anybody behind. There's maybe one or two people that have to do a little bit of extra work, but we don't have someone that's so far behind they're going, wait a sec, wait for me. So as a group, we're staying together. So we've learned pretty much those 8 notes up there. So it's a B-flat concert scale, plus 1 or 2, like an A-flat for the flutes instead of an A natural, and some of that stuff. So pretty much what's up there, the notes they know. Most of the music, unfortunately, will be in the but that's okay. We've got the notes figured out. They're really good with rhythms, and now all we have to do is make it sound like a band instead of 27 people all playing by themselves, which is what it sounds like sometimes. So I wanted you to hear what I put up with twice a week, because you have it really easy. You only have one of them, unless you've got one of the tenor saxes at home. You have it pretty easy. So, first off, the very first day I made the mistake of inviting the principal to come over, and he did. And it was a mistake, because of course they're all putting instruments together by them, like I'm showing them how to put instruments together, and they're all trying to make a sound. So while I was showing the clarinets and the flutes how to put their instruments together, the brass players were doing this. Okay, good. That's what they were doing. Trying to play low notes, high notes, buzz. It sounded a lot worse than that. And then the woodwind players figured out how to get the reed wet and how to attach it to their instrument. And I was just getting them to get a sound. And so the brass players were buzzing still. And then the woodwind and the flutes, clarinets, and saxophones were trying to get a sound on the mouthpieces. Play the rhythm of looking down on your mouthpiece. There we go. Just the rhythm. Ready? 1, 2. Just on your mouthpiece. Play the rhythm. So you're tonguing, blowing air. 1, 2. Ready? Go. So we got that. It's lovely. And then we didn't go right into the books right away. I did some where I played a rhythm and a couple of different notes, and they played it back to me. And then we got to the point where we could play this piece, looking down. Here we go. This is your best version of looking down. So you're sitting up, you're holding your instrument like you're supposed to, your mouthpiece is on all the way. I can see the bells of the one I'm supposed to see. I'm waiting for Booker. You should have this memorized book. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, that's good. That's not how it sounded the first time through. So we played most of these quite a few times. Made sure they weren't using their throat to tongue. You actually touch the reed with your tongue. You touch the back of your teeth with your tongue if you're a brass player. Flutes sort of touch on their lip. And not using their throat. Because if you're using your throat, you're cutting off the air. So we worked on it to make sure everybody was getting the tonguing right. And then we got to play it with some background accompaniment. Ready? You know all the speakers are ready. Here you go. It's just going to be the first three songs. much got through the first 3 notes pretty quickly. There's about 3 pages where you just do the first 3 notes over and over. Different rhythms, different combinations of notes, and they had that down in a couple of weeks. I tested them, everybody had it down. So we moved on, and pretty quickly we were on lesson 5, which gives us our first 5 notes. So we've moved on to, instead of just doing 3, we know 5, which was kind of nice. I want to play Sunbirds. What they added on Sunbirds is we were focusing on tonguing, and now in this one they actually had to slur 2 notes together, so not tonguing between, so that we could actually hear the difference between tonguing and not tonguing. So you should hear something that goes ba da da. So you should hear slur and then tonguing. Here we go. Sunbirds and my speed. One, you're thinking about it, and there's the speed. Put it in your head. 1, 2. Trumpet, baritone, and trombone are going to do line 3. Okay? We're not going to stop at the end. You just have that rest to breathe and come in on the right line. No, it's not that many. The trombones are having a problem because the clarinets can play lots of really fast notes, and if they have to play it, they're going like this. So they got mad today because you're playing something really fast and they can't go past about 3 notes before their arms fall off. Okay, here we go. First group, gathering, flutes and tenor sax. Don't speed up on your part. I'm not looking at anyone. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. How about we do it together? So you guys have to start with us. 1, 2, ready, breathe. To hear the different groups, sort of an idea instead of being overpowered by everybody else. And then we went to our first full-length song. And this is the one, luckily it alternates on and off so we were able to get through, but most of the first or second time through didn't quite make it all the way. Group 1 is tenor sax, clarinets, and horns. And the group 2 is everybody else. And watch out. Where do you need to watch out? Beginning, second line, end of second line, and the end. Make sure you count. Ready? They don't like to play rest. They like to just keep going. So we're working on, one of the things we're working on is not playing when you have a rest and letting someone else maybe play their part and listening to what everybody else is doing. When we get to one of the other pieces, you'll see why it's crucial that they actually listen to each other. Otherwise, we have this really great backbone bass line and they bury everybody else. And while on your stereo, you might like your bass cranked up and your treble down really like at nothing, or they might. I don't think we want to hear just the bass line. They're good, but not that good. So we are now looking at, we've got the notes, we've got the rhythm, we've got pretty good sound. We're now looking at the fact that you need to listen to what everybody else is doing and not bury them underneath all your sound. Go to number 7, Orly. Okay, guys. Okay. In this one, we discussed the fact that Orly is a song. So it shouldn't sound like you're tonguing every single note with a hammer. And it should actually sound like the song that we all know, and that how you would sing it if you were in elementary school and you had to sing it. So they're going to attempt to sing Orly through their instruments. Okay, guys, think about your singing instead of just playing. Just play, think about singing. Here you go. No, I don't want to hear the lyrics. Just want to hear all the right notes and make it sound like we could hear the lyrics because you're playing this mix. Sit up, please. 1. Watch the repeat. 1, 2, 3, 3. They also sped up. So we're still working on that. But you know what? It's going fine. Okay, B flat scale. You need to look over here. Clarence, you can either go up or you can go back down to the low B. Here we go. 4, listen to me, 4 quarter notes. 4 quarter notes on each pitch. You're gonna go ba, 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 ba. Okay, you're gonna play each note 4 times, my speed. 1, 2, ready, go. eventually they'll have that scale memorized to the point where they won't need to look up there. They won't have it written in front of them, and all they'll be doing is looking to see what fingers I'm holding up. And we can mess around with the scale and create songs or whatever on a B-flat scale without them having any music in front of it. So we'll figure out a sequence of notes, put a rhythm to it, and they won't have to think about it. And then we can work on staying together listening because they're not reading as well. Okay. Expedition. Hey guys. What? Okay, this is a actual piece written by Brian Appleby, a teacher for years and years at Westminster. He's got this company called Afro, and he went about writing music for beginning bands. The stuff we're using, the books we're using are his beginning program. And part of the reason I like it is because when I play the CD, I don't have to stand up here. They've learned to find the beat, keep the beat, and I can walk around the room. And that's what I do. Is they know class is starting. I turn the CD on, and then I'll walk around the room, and I might tell someone to sit up, or I might say, "Hey, let me hear what you're doing," and I'll sit down beside them and actually hear if they're actually playing. Because sometimes they play better for me if they don't think I'm listening to them. So I might be sitting behind them, telling the guy next to them that I'm listening, but I'm actually listening to the person in front. And then they're not nervous because they don't have any idea who I'm listening to. And I have trouble convincing them that I can stand here and tell what someone in the middle of the room's doing. But I can. So they never really know if I'm actually listening to them or not, so they're just playing along. And then I can kind of find if there's a problem. I can sit with that person for a minute or two and help them out and figure out what we need to do. So Expedition is one of the pieces that Brian wrote to go along with the book that with the Sound Start system. It's got five different melodies that get played all at different times. So this is where we get into you need to listen, you need to find the beat, and you need to keep the beat. Because you're not doing the same as the person in front or behind you. And same thing, again, you don't want to bury the melody line. So we went through, played the 5 melodies. They have a pretty good idea of what melody they have when. We've only played through this a couple of times. But we're going through it all the way through. If I start clapping my hands, it means we've lost the beat. Here we go. Keep the beat, you guys. Don't speed up. And listen. One, two, 7, 2, 3, 4. So the fact that we're getting all the way through that and nobody's passed out and fallen on the floor is a really good thing. We've got lots to do. We'll work on that one. We'll work on that one for the Christmas concert. So you'll hear a more finished version. That's just where we're at right now. There's lots we can do with that piece before we can say we actually can do it. Couple of things while I have you as a captive audience. Practice reports are due at the beginning of every month, but I usually give them until, okay, I'm doing report cards tonight, and if I don't have it in, I can't give you a mark. So that's how long they have to get them in, but I'd like them sooner than that. Theory sheets, we had some in September. We're going to get some time to go over that stuff. I'm not too concerned right now with that. I'm more concerned about getting the instrument stuff going. We'll do a little bit more then. It's the same thing. They get it and they have sort of during the class time as I'm testing other people to work on it. It's not homework until I say it's due. If you don't have it done, get it done. But there's not usually enough to take it home. We probably won't do it this term, but we'll do a theory quiz sometime around right before report cards. How I do the testing is I assign, they've got up there now starting next week, orally, the B flat scale memorized, and lesson 8, whichever one they think best shows me how well they're doing. So that's not all in one class, that's over the next couple of weeks, and they can do those in any order. If they can do the B flat scale for me next class, good, get it done. What I do is I don't give them a mark right off. As they're playing, I quickly write in a comment. I might write, sit up. I might write, you sped up. It was good that you sped up. I'll write a comment. I won't give it a mark because, of course, as soon as I give it a mark, they don't read all that wonderful ink that I put all over there and asking them things to improve. What I do is then they put that in their book. The next time I test them, they hand this back to me. I do the next test. At the end, right before I do report cards, I get them to hand them in to me. And I go through, and I've given them a mark in my book, so I'm not going back and trying to remember how they did. I've given them a mark in my book, but what I want them to see is I commented on, you're using your throat to tongue. We need to work on that. So the next time they get help, next time I shouldn't be writing that. And then I'll notice, did I write every single time I wrote sit up? Or every single time I wrote, you're speeding up or you're playing through the rest. So I'll notice that as I'm doing it. So it gives me a little bit more of accountability. So I'm trying not to say the same thing unless I have to. It's giving them accountability because they're not having to listen to what I'm saying. I'm putting it in writing. Here's what you need to improve. I will take them in, I'll add the mark to it, and they'll get them back before report cards. So they'll have an idea where they stand. And they'll get used to the fact that they'll figure out kind of what mark they probably got based on the comments. After a while, they'll have a pretty good idea of what the mark is. If there's any big problem and they're not doing very well, don't worry. I'm not going to just say, oh, by the way, yeah, you got 4s on all of these, and hand it back to them. That will have been dealt with ahead of time. Okay? So if they're just getting it back and you know, there's only a few comments, they're probably doing really well, unless it's a really big one. And then I point that out and say, this is really hurting you, this is something we need to work on. Can you stay after school? What I do quite often on Fridays is I'll go back on the bus, and then we can grab a classroom and I can work with whoever needs help. And any day after school I am available. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday after school, for a little bit I'm available to someone who needs help back at Crestwood. Okay? So that's how I'm doing the marking. It's sort of a new way of doing it. I'm trying to find a way that I'm not spending a lot of time talking and they're not actually listening. So I'm going to see if this works. It also goes into that assessment for learning stuff. Okay, this is their favorite piece. This is the one where I told you about you don't want to hear the bass line because the melody is really nice too. So our goal is to make sure you hear the melody. Right, back row? You only have 2 measures of the melody. Might be 3. Here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, go. Those 2 pieces are by no means perfect, but we're working on them. Concert is December 15th. It's a Thursday night. It's in the gym here. 2 reasons. Number 1, it's free. Number 2, I don't have to haul all the percussion equipment somewhere else in the middle of winter. We can just go right through those doors into the gym. They have chairs. They have a curtain that covers the stage so it doesn't echo in there quite so much. And if we fill it with bodies, it won't be quite as awful as... and the Crestwood gym is just plain and simple, too small for 3 bands. Plus I have access to this room for the groups that aren't playing. I have access to the drama room for the groups who aren't playing. So it's just more contained, and I know the facility. And like I said, it was free. So December 15th, 7 o'clock here. All I've said to the kids is I need them here at 6:30, just because I have to warm up 3 different groups. I have to get 3 different groups organized and going. So if everybody's here at 6:30, then we can actually start right at 7. I'm not chasing anyone down to figure out where they're... Because that's the night that the clarinet gets stepped on and the reed doesn't work and the French horn strings all break all at the same time. So 6:30 on December 15th, we'll start playing at 7. All 3 groups will be represented. Just for information, the grade 9s are playing at the Wind Spear tomorrow night. It's Ross Shep. It's called Ross Shep and Friends. What they do is Ross Shep does their entire music department goes down, and then they invite the junior highs. This year, we're doing it as part of the mass band, so there's about 100 junior high kids participating. Next year, I'm going to hope that next year's grade 9s, we can play individually, mostly because I'll know the kids better, and it's so early in the year, I have to prepare this year for next October. So, but the grade 9s get to play at the Windspear tomorrow night, which we go at lunch, before lunch tomorrow, go to Westmount, rehearse for the afternoon, hop the bus, go down to the Windspear, rehearse for a couple hours on stage at the Windspear, go to Edmonton Centre for supper, and hopefully I can corral them all back to the Windspear for 6:30. So that's something exciting for grade 9. The grade 8s are my Christmas band. They wanted to play Christmas tunes, and it's like Frosty the Snowman, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, all those. They want to be my Christmas band, so they're going to learn a lot of Christmas tunes. So you might hear them in the elementary wing. They want to play for the elementaries. They want to sit in the hallway and play. That'll be mostly grades. I am going to give these guys a book of music for the season. It's not as hard as the other stuff, but I am going to give them a book. They can play in groups of 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't care. They play in the hallways. They play wherever the teachers will let them play. Go ahead and play. They want to play for for family. They'll have the book all the way through the season. And if they're really into it, there's lots of really good solo books at the music stores. If you go to St. John's, a lot of them come with a CD with the background behind it. Make sure you get look for the flute player. It says flute, and they'll be able to look at it and see if it's too hard for them. But it might be too hard now, but they'll be able to work their way into it. And if they have a problem with one of them, they can bring it to me, and I'll see if I can help them with it. So, anyways, thank you for coming, and we'll be much improved in December.